Romeo and Juliet take place in Verona, Italy. Two of the city's most powerful families, the Montagues and the Capulets, have had a long-running conflict. The Montague and Capulet servants fight at the beginning of the story. Luckily, Prince Iscalus arrives and breaks the fight. He also threatened them with execution if it happened again. After the conflict has ended, Lord Montague and Lady Montague question Benvolio about their son Romeo. Benvolio tells them that he has noticed Romeo moping around in a daisy. After the conversation, they left. Then, Romeo shows sin and tells Benvolio why he's in such a terrible mood.
I'm lovesick with Benvolio. I think I'm in love with the girl named Rosa.
Don't worry, my friend. I'll help you forget about her.
On the other hand, in the house of the Capulets, Count Paris is asking for Lord Capulet's permission to marry his daughter, Juliet.
Lord Capulet, I want to marry your daughter Juliet. Please give me a permission to marry her.
Can you wait a few more years for her? Please accept my apologies. My daughter is still too young.
Lord Capulet, I don't believe age matters. She's still young as you mentioned. What if she falls in love with someone else? Someone who's not deserving of her affection and attention, someone indigent.
You're right, okay? You can wait Juliet successfully. Then I grant you permission to marry her.
Thank you, Lord Capulet. I don't be concerned. I will be sure your daughter will like me and we feel comfortable in my company.
To help you, I'd like to invite you a party we're throwing tonight at our place.
Of course, I did be delighted to attend your party tonight. Expect my presence later.
Lord Capulet then gives his servant a guest list for the party and asks him to track down and invite the people in it. The servant, who is illiterate, then asks the passing Romeo and Benvolio for help reading it. Realizing that Rosaline, Romeo's unrequited love, is on the guest list, Romeo and Benvolio devise a scheme to attend the party despite the fact that it is being held at the enemy's house. Benvolio, for one, believes that when Romeo compares Rosaline to the other lovely young ladies of Verona, he will understand how insignificant she is. Before the party, Lady Capulet and Juliet's nurse talk to Juliet to tell her about the plans of Paris. Juliet then agrees to meet him. Romeo, together with Benvolio and Mercutio, crash the party of the Capulets wearing masks. At the party, Romeo notices Juliet and becomes captivated by her, causing him to forget about Rosaline. Meanwhile, Tybalt recognizes Romeo as a Montague and plans to kill him. Lord Capulet overhears Tybalt's rage and apprehends him, desiring peace at his party.
How dare Montague enters our territory? I'm going to make him pay for it.
No, Tybalt. Take a deep breath and relax. Just leave him alone, because I don't want a brawl to break out at my party.
Welcome, Rosalind. Wow. What a beautiful woman she is.
Then, Romeo approached Juliet, took her hands in his, and persuaded her to kiss him. All of this occurred while they conversed in poetry. Following this encounter, each of them sets out to discover who the other is. Romeo and Juliet are upset to learn that they come from rival families. However, they both realize that they were too in love to go back. After the party, Romeo leaves his friends and climbs over an orchard wall to see Juliet. He spotted her on the balcony, alone and chatting to herself. Juliet declares her love for Romeo before realizing he's listening to her. Then, Romeo appears and tells Juliet that he, too, loves her.
I'm hopelessly in love with you, Romeo.
I'm truly in love with you as well.
The next day, Romeo goes to Friar Lawrence and requests that he conduct a wedding for him and Juliet. Friar Lawrence is taken aback by how quickly Romeo transitions from Rosaline to Juliet. Friar Lawrence still agrees with Romeo, believing that their marriage and love will bring the two families' conflict to an end.
Friar Lawrence, please arrange a wedding ceremony for me and Juliet.
Referring to Juliet Capulet, wasn't it true that you were head over heels for Rosaline? Wait, she's also a Capulet. She's a relative of your family's enemy.
I'm aware that she comes from a rival family. But I love her. I want to marry her. And as for Rosaline, I already moved on.
Move on? That fast?
Yes, Paya. I already accepted that me and Rosaline are not meant for each other. Because Juliet is the one for me.
Okay, if that's what you want. I'll perform a marriage ceremony for you and Juliet, in the hopes that your union and love would put an end to the Montagues and Capulet food.
After the conversation between Romeo and Friar Lawrence, Mercutio and Benvolio inform Romeo that Tybalt wants to challenge him to a duel. Juliet's nurse arrives, requesting a private conversation with Romeo. Romeo instructs her to tell Juliet that they would be marrying that afternoon at Friar Lawrence. That afternoon, in the friar's cell, Juliet meets Romeo and the friar, and the friar marries them.
Romeo, do you take Juliet to be your wife? Do you vow to love and honor her in good times and bad, in sickness and health, for the rest of your life?
I do.
Juliet, do you take Romeo to be your husband? Do you vow to love and honor him in good times and bad, in sickness and health, for the rest of your life?
I do.
By the power vested in me, I now announce you as husband and wife.
Tybalt later finds Romeo and attempts to instigate a fight. Romeo, on the other hand, does not want to fight Tybalt because he is Juliet's cousin. Mercutio intervenes and attempts to defeat Tybalt instead. Romeo tries to separate them, but Tybalt stabs Mercutio with his blade, which he shoves beneath Romeo's arm. Benvolio bolts from the scene. Mercutio dies, bringing a curse on both families. When Tybalt reappears, Romeo is enraged and murders him before fleeing. When Prince Ischalus arrives, Benvolio informs him of the events. Romeo was expelled from Verona by the prince. Juliet finds out what transpired between Romeo and Tybalt when her nurse informs her about it. Juliet was angry with Romeo at first because of what he did to Tybalt, but she forgives him later when she refuses to abandon Romeo. Then, Juliet asks her nurse to spend the night with her. Friar Lawrence, on the other hand, informs Romeo that he has been exiled from Verona. Romeo was about to kill himself when Juliet's nurse arrived and told him that he needed to see Juliet that night. The friar instructs Romeo to travel to Mantua the next morning and await his message. Lord Capulet, on the other side, decides that in 3 days, Paris will marry Juliet.